about that in just a bit. I think we've got our stuff worked out here technically, and we are joined now by the one and only Richard Cross from SportsTalk Mississippi. How you doing today, Richard?
Dave, good morning. Good to catch up with you. It's been a wet start to the SEC tournament. Supposed to go at 9:30 right out of the gate. Game one with Georgia and Alabama has already been pushed back. When you're trying to play 4 games in a single day, any delay kind of sets you up for what could be a long day. And it sends people scrambling like me who forgot to bring a rain jacket to try and find one of those on the way to the ballpark.
You got to pack that. If baseball is scheduled, you know it's going to rain, Richard. Come on.
It was lying on the back of the chair in the living room. It was the last thing I was going to grab on the way out the door, right up until the point that I didn't. And I did not throw my golf bag in the car either, which had rain gear in it as well. So, got to start from scratch. It'll be okay, though.
You work through these things. That's the way it works. The life of a media superstar. Right. It happens sometimes. Now, with the rain delay coming in, is there a chance that we could have one of those games pushed back to another day, or are they going to go through with this no matter how late they start and how many delays they are? And I say that because I was looking at radar, and there's rain all over Alabama right now.
You know, in the past, we've seen both at the SEC tournament. They're going to do everything they can to play 4 baseball games today. There was a year, good grief, it's been 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago, where we had a complete day that was washed out. I mean, it was just, biblical Noah's Ark, monsoon type stuff. And then you got teams that are trying to figure out what to do. Can they go find an indoor batting cage somewhere? Can they go find an arcade to kill a day's worth of time? In terms of the format, today's single elimination, right? And the double elimination portion of the tournament starts tomorrow with the 4 winners today and the top 4 seeds in the tournament. So they desperately want to get these 4 games in today. You're going to send 4 teams home and then try to get on schedule. Now, are you going to start a game at midnight or 1 in the morning? Probably not. And so, kind of looking at the radar, looks like there's enough of a window to get this first game in. Could be a delay at some point in the second game. Could be a delay at some point in Ole Miss's game, which is scheduled for a 4:30 start, which feels incredibly optimistic at this point. And I know that's like a roundabout answer, but the bottom line is everything they possibly can do to play today, they will. They've got a great grounds crew. This field drains well, and so they'll do their best.
Now, you're over there, in addition to the tournament, it's SEC Media Days this week, right?
No, not yet. That's coming up in July.
Okay, yeah, that's July.
Yeah, it'll be in Atlanta. I think it's July 14th through the 17th or 17th through the 20th, something like that. It's that 3rd week of July. A little bit of a venue change this year. It was in Birmingham for a really long time. They went to Atlanta a couple of years ago, brought it back to Birmingham. I think they're actually about to start kind of moving that around. So we'll be in Atlanta this year, Nashville next year. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a run to Dallas somewhere along the way also. So, but yeah, we got to wait a little bit longer before we dive into the football stuff.
Now, well, at the rate the weather is going, the SEC baseball tournament may still be going by then. We don't know. I'm not wishing it on you, Richard, but I'm just saying, looking at the radar is not filling me with optimism for how the rest of this day is going to play out. Now, you mentioned Ole Miss, elimination game today with Vanderbilt, 4:30 scheduled time. Good luck with that. What are we looking to see in this game this afternoon from the Rebels?
Well, with a win, Ole Miss absolutely locks up a spot in the NCAA tournament. That would be their 15th SEC win, plus the Governor's Cup win against Mississippi State, which the committee doesn't look at least as best I can tell, as exactly a conference game, but they look at it as more than a non-conference game. So maybe you would call it 15 and a half SEC wins. That's 100% of the time going to get you into the NCAA tournament, into regional play. If Ole Miss were to lose today, they're done. And so they're sitting there at 14 SEC wins plus the Governor's Cup with an RPI that's right around 40. And those are numbers that a little better than half the time get you into the field. But that makes the next 5 or 6 days incredibly heartburn producing because you're going to sit around and you're not going to know, because you got conference tournaments that are happening all over the country. Are you going to have favorites that win, or are you going to have a team that is another bubble team that gets hot and goes on a run and ends up taking one of those spots that you might have been playing for? Vanderbilt's in the tournament, but they probably have played themselves out of hosting in Nashville outside of a pretty good run this weekend after getting swept last weekend by LSU. So really for both of these teams, the stakes are pretty high today. They both need to play well, and both could certainly help themselves out with a win, but for different reasons. Ole Miss to get in, Vanderbilt trying to re-solidify a spot hosting.
Let me ask you this, because I mentioned this in the last segment, and I may be wrong here, but it seemed like a month or two ago, Ole Miss and State were just on fire. They were taking the world by storm in SEC baseball, and then the wheels kind of fell off the bus. What happened?
You know, Dave, I think it's two different answers. Let's start with Mississippi State. I mean, the most simple answer for Mississippi State is injuries that they just were not able to overcome. You know, for a team that had the success that they did a year ago to claim their first national championship, it was an unbelievable story, and the expectations were really, really high because you had five guys that were contributing, that were starters in that championship game who were back this year for Mississippi State, and the preseason national pitcher of the year in Landon Sims. Well, when he goes down in week 3 with a UCL injury, has to have Tommy John surgery, that's a blow that was going to cause Mississippi State to take a step back. But then beyond that, you had Stone Simmons with a similar injury, and then later a couple of more pitching injuries, and they just never had it in the pen. And this team never quite kind of captured the chemistry. But I think more than anything, it was pitching for Mississippi State. For Ole Miss, it's been an interesting year. I mean, you're talking about a team that spent 2-3 weeks as the number one team in the country. Some of that was aided by where they started the season. Some of it was kind of a soft non-conference schedule. But Ole Miss didn't play well, right? They didn't play well offensively with the guys that they had returning. They were not steady on the mound. Once Ole Miss finally kind of solidified its rotation with Dylan DeLucia and Hunter Elliott and then Derek Diamond, they got to a spot where it felt like there was a little less pressure on the offense, and they played better baseball down the stretch.
And Ole Miss as well, they have a freshman pitcher that they keep bringing in for relief that just seems to be lights out when they bring him in.
Yeah, they've had a couple of guys, and I mean, Hunter Elliott probably is the one that stands out the most, and he's kind of locked down the game 2 starter role. So in a weekend rotation where you're Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's been the Saturday starter. Freshman left-hander from Tupelo has been really, really good. You got Mason Nichols out of Jackson, played at Jackson Prep, who has been pretty good in his freshman year. I think the future is bright with some of these young players. You also had Riley Maddox from the Jackson area, who had an arm injury and is having surgery. In fact, has already had that Tommy John surgery, so he's probably out next year as well. But we've got some good young arms on this staff that just got to pitch well.
Now, let me ask you, let's play the for instance game. Ole Miss wins today. They beat Vanderbilt whenever the game finally gets played. They beat Vanderbilt. What happens next? What's next for the Rebels?
They play Tennessee tomorrow, number one team in the country. Best offense in the country, best arms in the country. I mean, Tennessee's the number one seed, and when you're in this 8-9 game where Ole Miss is, that's just the way the bracket's built. The 8-9 winner goes to play the number one seed. In a lot of ways, though, Dave, it's a free shot, right? I mean, there's nobody that's expecting you to win that game. It's going to be a game that win or lose helps you in the RPI because Tennessee's the number one RPI team in the country. Ole Miss has played Tennessee 3 times this year. It did not go well. Tennessee blasted them in the first 2. Ole Miss lost game 3, but it was a close loss. I would think that if you're Ole Miss, you don't mind that shot, right? I mean, go get one. Probably the outcome doesn't matter tomorrow, and it's a free shot. Go out and play loose.
That makes sense. 4:30 is the scheduled start time for Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Probably not going to happen from what you're saying. Not at that time.
Probably not, but I would anticipate that at some point today, before we go to sleep tonight, this game gets played.
Richard Cross with Sports Talk Mississippi. They are in Hoover, Alabama. You guys hit the air at 3 from over there, right?
3 o'clock. We'll be here for the next 3 days, regardless of the results on the field. Looking forward to it, Dave.
Enjoyed it, Richard. Good catching up with you, man. Richard Cross from Sports Talk Mississippi. We will continue on middays in the Element Wealth studio.